Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out RV Daydream, and I've got the good camera out because I want to talk about something that's actually kind of serious right now. So, microphone, good camera, let's go to intro and get you on to the business at hand.
What have you been up to?
I've been riding on a daydream.
So as you guys know that's been following us for about the last 3 years, we've been looking for an RV. Sometimes serious, sometimes not serious, sometimes we were just browsing. But about a year and a half ago, actually going on almost 2 years now, we did find one that we kind of liked. We didn't talk about it a lot. However, we kept on coming back to that same one. We finally, just this past January, when we went to the Cleveland RV show, we saw that unit there and we went ahead and made a deal for the purchase. Now, as far as the RV is concerned, they did put the order in a little bit later so that the model that we get should be a 2020 model, and we will be going out to the manufacturer to see potentially parts of that being built. That's what the hope is right now. Everything points that way. If something changes, we'll let you know. But so far, so good. Looks like that we're right on line for that. So what's the bad news? Well, the bad news is, if you guys remember, whenever I was talking about that purchase, we purposefully did not want to go through numerous financiers trying to figure out who's got the best rate, who's got, pay off early cancellation fees, who has pre-calculated interest charges, stuff like that, and all these hidden stuff that you got to read through contracts because each lender is going to be a little bit different. Well, to get around that, we went ahead and contacted my bank, USAA. USAA has been really great. Now, if you guys don't know USAA, it's for service members or service members, family members, that kind of a thing. I mean, it's not like, hey, my dad was in the Army. You've just got to take my word for it. Can I have a bank account? I mean, you actually have to prove to some extent to become part of a USA member. So as far as the RV loan, whenever we got it, the RV show was going to be in January, about middle of January. So I wanted to go in there knowing that I had financing secured. And whenever I called USAA, I immediately got the loan, which was back on December 26th. I don't know what I was thinking on that day, but all the fun was over with, I guess, of Christmas. So on December 26th, I called in. The application was seamless. It was easy. There was nothing to it. You just filled in all the blanks. And actually, in this case, we were doing a joint, Heidi and I, as far as our application. It wasn't just my credit or her credit. It was a joint thing. And the rate was pretty good. I was relatively happy with it. Now, full disclosure, Heidi and I don't have spectacular credit. We have okay credit, just okay. Mine's probably actually a little bit worse than hers, even though I have less bills than her, which I don't understand that exactly how that works, but apparently if you have lots of debt and you're making payments on it a regular basis, that looks more favorably than if you don't have a lot of debt and what you do have, you're just making payments on that. I looked at my credit report and try to keep an eye on it to some extent. And I remember one of the things they said is I don't have credit checks done enough on my credit for it to help with my cause of getting a higher credit score. Again, I don't know clearly what that means, but that's kind of leading into not knowing something that happened. All right, so we got the loan December 26th, and at the time they told us that, hey, it will expire February 9th. The loan offer will expire if you don't use it on February 9th. Well, I thought, oh, great. I got plenty of time. We're going to the RV show, the second week of January or real close to that. And that's plenty of time. I should be able to find something. And when Heidi and I went in there, of course, like you guys seen in the previous video, if you haven't seen that video, I'll put a link up above here. Just click that. And we signed the paperwork. And at that time, he had said do you want me to run you through financing here? There's quite a few people up here. And I said, no, we have financing. Here's our letter, but here's the checklist. This is the stuff I need from you so I can get this loan validated or rolling or whatever you want to call it. So I can actually accept the loan and start making payments on it. And he said, sure, let me see your checklist. And it was just a short checklist. They didn't require very much. But whenever they got down to VIN number, he said, well, I can't give you a VIN number. He says, you're not buying this trailer behind me. We're building a trailer for you. The manufacturer's building the trailer. So I'm not going to have a VIN number till the manufacturer gives me the VIN number. And he says, that may be a little while, especially if we push this order date to try to accommodate maybe a 2020 model. So I thought, no, okay, well, we'll see what happens, because he's talking about 3 weeks time that, things are going to start happening. And I didn't know exactly what that meant, but he said basically it was either going to be, he's going to have to put in the order right away. He said, because sometimes Rockwood does not allow that. It's a Rockwood camper. He said sometimes they can't allow that because then there'd be too much buildup, too many people trying to get 2020 models or the newest model. He said, so I got to ask the rep, or I got to check with my guys on my end. He says, so it's either going to be something I put in and it'll be about 3 weeks and, you'll actually be getting your RV, or, the order may be pushed out until we can place an order to ensure that it might be a later model, which I didn't have a problem with that. That would have just, been fine, which we told him we don't even really, we're looking forward, we're anticipating it. Don't get us wrong, we're excited about it, but we don't really need to see an RV necessarily sitting in our driveway till, May, late April, I guess. That's when we'll really be saying, oh, hey, where's our RV at? However, if it comes sooner, that's fine. Just whatever you need to do. And he let it go at that. We let it go at that. Everything was great. Nothing wrong on the dealer's end. So whenever it got close to the February 9th date, what I mean is about 5 days before, so, around the 4th of February, I called the dealer and I said, have you placed the order for the RV? And he says, oh yeah. He says that got placed, but it just recently got placed because we're trying to send it in, as a 2020 model, which is fine. I didn't have a problem with that. I said, approximately how long is it going to take for you to get a VIN number, or have you got a VIN number? Because at this point, this is the first time that I'm hearing that he's definitely placed the order at the later time, like he had discussed. And he says, I don't think we're going to have that anytime soon. And I said, okay, well, let me go ahead and I'm going to call the manufacturer and see if there's something on their end that maybe they have. Which I did call up the manufacturer, and I was actually talking to the guy that sets up the tours out at Rockwood, and he was very informative, and he says, hey, what's the RV? What's the model? He actually watches this channel, so he knew what we were talking about. And I asked him about the VIN number, and he was telling me that the way that they run their cycles of the RVs going through the plant, they cycle one model for so long, then they move on to the next model, and then that goes so long, and then the next, and so forth. And the way that mine would be cycled, that it was going to be a little while before he'd even know exactly when that would be put forth to where he could, actually grab a VIN number. So once I found out that the VIN number wasn't going to be something that I was going to be able to put on this list, I called back and talked with USAA. And I told them the whole story that I told you guys. And I was concerned. I mean, at this point, hey, I've got an RV that I ordered. Not only that, but I had to put a deposit down on it because I couldn't pay for it. The fact that I didn't have a VIN number for them to give, me my money to go pay for it right away, I had to put a deposit down, good faith, so the dealer has something, so he's not stuck with an RV that he don't want. So I explained to them, hey, I had to give the guy a deposit, and on top of that, I'm concerned because in about 5 days here, my loan's going to expire, and I don't have a VIN number to give you to start that loan process. Is there something you can do? Is there some way you can secure that loan so I don't have to go through any extra? And he says, no, there's nothing we can do. We cannot give you a loan because you don't have the VIN number. Well, again, I'm not exactly sure why. I understand that they're using that vehicle as collateral, but basically I told him, that really stinks that there's no way that you can, secure the loan without this VIN number. I mean, can't you just make up a VIN number, or you can make up a number, or put the loan on hold, but lock it in so we don't have to deal with going through this process again, even though it was easy? And he said, no, I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do. So I was a little let down by USAA. And this is the very first time that I was let down by them. And I'm like, the first time you get heartbroken by something that you love so far, it's a little bit harder to swallow. So then the loan expired. Not a big deal, because they said it's, no big deal. Just call back in and resubmit it, but make sure the window in which the loan expires will allow you to get a VIN number within that time. Well, I know at this point that, 45 days out or whatever, we should be within that window. We should be within that window. There shouldn't be an issue to at least get a VIN number. So I went ahead and called back today, and Heidi was with me, by my side, just in case, because, they do need information from her as far as being a joint application again. So we went ahead and submitted our application just like before. They had put us on hold, just like before, and said, hey, let us run it real quick. And they came back and they said, congratulations, you're approved for the dollar amount that you want. And unfortunately, for whatever reason, and that's the big news here and the big upset as far as on our end, the loan value is fine as far as the dollar amount they're going to give us. However, the terms of the loan have changed as far as the percentage. It's gone up 5 full percent. I'm not talking about a 0.5%. I'm talking about 5%. So my jaw drops and I'm like, wait a minute, because 5%, even though we plan on most likely paying this loan off early, 5% over a long term, that turns out to be a lot of money. That's a whole bunch of dip, just let you know. So whenever I heard this 5%, I said, well, wait a minute, they had told me that I'd have to reapply for the loan, but I didn't think that the terms would change that drastically. And what's happening? And they said, well, something must have happened in your credit to cause that. Maybe a new loan, maybe a new purchase, maybe something. And I said, okay, I guess. Again, not 100% familiar why that may be. I have Equifax, credit reporting and monitoring. So does Heidi. And I didn't really see anything that may have came across my phone recently, any notifications or in our email. So not really knowing for sure, I kind of told the person, okay, I guess, let me know. And she said, well, it'll be sent across, and same thing. I don't have to take the loan. I got so many days to use it or it expires. So I got off the phone with her. And then pretty much for today, I researched it. Heidi and I was researching it. I'm like, what's going on? What happened in your credit? And she goes, I don't know. And she says, what about yours? I said, nothing as far as I know. So we were really concerned. And I mean, like I said, 5%, that percentage change made my payment roughly about $140 more a month. That's not something that I had quite budgeted in. I mean, I can make it work, but I didn't want to make that work. I was happy with the previous terms. So we started going through our reports, and I'm reading through mine, and mine actually I found 3 days ago a notification that says, congratulations, an account has been cleared on your, or paid off or something like that. I can't remember what the term was, and your credit score has improved. And I'm like, oh, well, my credit's improved. And I went back to see when my original date of the loan, whenever we first put through on December 26th, and my credit score was actually a little bit lower on that date. So Heidi was looking at hers, and hers too went up like 10 points as far as her credit score from when we first got the loan. Okay, so now as far as the credit score is concerned, as far as the credit reporting agency, Equifax, which they're using Equifax for a lot of their basis for the loan, it both says our credit scores are better. So armed with that information, I went ahead and I called back and I said, is there, somebody I can talk to about this loan? And they said, absolutely. And got to an agent, and again, the agent was very polite. That's one thing you'll notice with USAA. Very polite agents, very thorough. You never feel like you're rushed. It doesn't feel like they're rushed. They want to answer all your questions. They take the time to hear you. It's all US based. It's just great customer service. So as I'm talking to her, she listens to my whole story, and basically it comes down to me asking her, so what happened? I said, first of all, getting back to something that I had already discussed, what happened to the first loan? And why couldn't it just be extended? Why couldn't I just got that extended? Because I understand after a certain period of time, you can't just hold on a loan forever, but obviously there was extenuating circumstances. I called explaining those circumstances. Why couldn't that happen? Well, that's just not the way they do those things. So that was kind of like the first letdown. And then whenever I had told her that the first loan, why didn't it couldn't go through without a VIN number? Maybe have some kind of exception number or something. Maybe have something just applied to it to lock that loan in, so that I don't have to go through the process again, and it's going to kick into effect. I wouldn't even mind start making payments on the loan, even though I didn't have the RV yet. I wouldn't have had a problem with that. Why couldn't that have happened? And that was something that they said they couldn't do. You needed a VIN for that type of loan to go through. That was their rule. Well, I don't like hard and fast rules when weird circumstances like this happen. And how weird is it? Again, how many people buy new RVs that are going to get built? So you aren't going to have a VIN number until it's built. So that was a little bit odd too. Now, getting on to the third thing, which was today, that really disappointed me. And that was, I called up and explained to her, Heidi's credit had gone up, her score, my credit score has gone up, and yet our rate went up. And she was very clear that their rates, which change all the time, they did not have a rate hike. She said, we haven't had a rate hike. She said, so I know that's not the reason. She says, we have rate hikes around this time and around this time of year. She says, but in this case, that was not the reason for this. She clearly stated that. So I asked her, well, what changed in our credit? You're getting news from somebody that that they're going to want to loan me money at a different rate based on something that happened in my credit. What was it? And she tried to help. She said, well, it could be numerous things. She said, have you recently made a major purchase? I said, well, we did purchase a truck. However, we did that back on November 1st. And that first loan was December 26th. I'm sure that first loan, that truck loan, was definitely in the mix and on the books by December 26th. So it wasn't that. And everything else was rosy from that point on. We didn't buy anything. We didn't finance anything. We didn't do anything out of the ordinary. Our, what we owed, what we loaned out, whatever, whatever our credit cards were, everything was just getting paid down. Everything was normal, if not better than what it was on that initial loan. So again, she couldn't give me an exact reason. So for that, I don't know if I'm going to be able to go with them. So in the meantime, I'm in a catch-22. And here's the catch-22. If you guys don't know, if you have a lot of loan inquiries on your credit report, that becomes derogatory towards your credit report. So we had a credit inquiry back whenever we first bought the truck. So there would have been one there. And actually, we ended up getting financed with another company on the truck. So there was another one there. So we had two of them on November 1st. Now, moving forward, the next credit inquiry that we had was on December 26th for the loan that we got from USAA. So there's three credit reports that have been, asked for by three different places. And that's when we got the loan with the really decent rate. And then moving forward, now that this one's expired, I had a hard credit inquiry the other day, which would have been yesterday, I guess it was. And then after I found out what the rate was, she said, well, maybe, maybe that purchase, because I was talking to the first girl and she was trying to give me, she was, maybe the purchase of your truck did it. And I said, well, let me just try to run the credit with myself, just me on there. And that came back even worse than the first offer as far as the percentage, which doesn't surprise me. I mean, we're buying a relatively big item that's going to require a relatively big income to show that we have the ability to pay this back. And the fact that we have a brand new truck on our credit, one person doing it most likely wasn't going to be the answer. However, she thought that might be the answer. So we ran that and she said, nope, that's not going to work either. So now I have those two credit inquiries. And one of them, of course, got me a loan. And I do have a loan for the RV to go buy it at that crazy 5% more interest rate. However, I don't know if I want to do that. So here's the catch-22. If I decide to try to go with another finance company to get a lower rate, now they're going to look back and see credit inquiry just 2 days ago, and then a credit inquiry back on December 26th, and then two of them last year on November 1st. So you can see where we're stuck. We're kind of stuck. I don't know if you guys, anybody works in the banking system or the credit bureau system or what the case may be, but basically I'm going to title this video that USAA let me down, because that was a letdown. Again, these are extenuating circumstances that are not unreasonable. It's not my fault, and I'm not saying it's their fault either. I know that they have rules to get stuff done, but you should be able to be flexible enough to make it to where it's not inconvenient, or in my case, actually costing me money to go with them. And unfortunately, it's going to cost me money, extra money, to go with them, especially if I find somebody that's going to loan me the same money for a lower interest rate. I'm going to have to say bye to USAA. I might have to read the small print of the contract like I don't want to. I trusted USAA to do that for me, and give me the straight and skinny on everything. But yeah, this is going to be a tough thing. So I wanted to let you guys know, if you are trying to finance a new RV, which a lot of you will be here shortly, make sure that you realize that for the most part, nobody's going to let you finance a new RV without a VIN number, from what I can tell. Now, that may be different if you go with a dealer and the exclusive finance company that the dealer deals with, because this stuff has happened before. I'm sure this stuff has happened plenty of times with, dealers that say, hey, we want to place a special order, but this gentleman wants credit first. Can you guarantee credit for him to get this RV if I place the order for it? I'm sure there's something that can be said there. I wish USAA did the same. So be cautious, just be cautious. And again, I'm just going to title the video, USAA let me down this time, or something to that effect. But overall, I'm happy with them. I like their service and everything. I just wish that went better. All right, guys, that's it. This is going on long enough. As always, I hope to see you out there. Bye.